Hello, I'm Will Yeoman. I'm CEO of Writing WA, and welcome to another edition of Pod Street, where today is my great pleasure to talk to Kate and Sophia from Katharine, Susannah, Prichard Writers Centre, which is really exciting because I'm hoping this is going to be the first of a series of conversations about Western Australia's wonderful writers' centres, of which KSB is undoubtedly the best. I'm sure you'll agree. Welcome to Pod Street.
Hello.
Hello, thank you.
So maybe we should start briefly with a bit more introduction and explain what your roles are at KSP.
Yeah, well, I'm Kate Driver. I'm
Yes.
the chairperson
Okay.
at KSP. I've been a chair for, this is my second year. Been on the board for a year before that and been involved in the writers' groups for many years before that.
Fantastic.
So.
Perfect qualifications then.
And
Sophia.
I'm Sophia. You'll see me at KSP all the time. I'm the coordinator of KSP Writers Centre. And I've been there for a year and a bit. So I've just celebrated my first year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, just to set the scene, KSB is in one of the most idyllic and I think perfect locations. I haven't been to every writer centre in the world, but it must be right up there. I really love Tom Collins' house as well, and Matty Furphy House, which is the Farwell's headquarters too, kind of the opposite side of town. But you guys are right up in the Perth Hills, aren't you? Can you tell us a little bit more about the location? Because it's like, feels like you're out in the bush, doesn't it? It's just extraordinary.
Yeah. So we're up on Greenmount Hill.
Yes.
So back in, I think, 1985, some very far-thinking people, Glenn Phillips and some others, saw that Katharine Susannah Prichard's house came on the market. So it's actually her home. And purchased that for a writer centre. Well, the state government purchased it, invested it to the Shire. And it's been a very active writers' centre since then. And, yeah, it's a gorgeous location. You've got the views of the city and John Forest National Park just backs onto the back of it. So it's got some great walks and, trees.
Very fortunate.
And the gardens are just beautiful as well. That's part of the heritage listing is the rambling.
So what's it about? I don't know, 40 minutes from the CBD? I don't know, or roughly half an hour, a bit less, half an hour, even 20 minutes.
Yeah, 25 to 30 minutes at most if it's super, super busy, which happens. But, it's definitely a gorgeous location. And to me, my personal favourite, and I think the favourite of our residents, writers and residents, and everybody who visits is the gardens, definitely. Because they were mentioned in Katharine's poems and stories, and we tend to kind of upkeep them as they were, and we try to always put that across and say, these wild and beautiful gardens as Katharine loved them. So
it's a real legacy, but it's also a real inspiration. Of course, Katharine Susannah Prichard is one of our great writers, and indeed the subject of a recent biography, The Red Witch. Maybe we'll get into reasons later on why it's called that by Nathan Hobby. But okay, so we've talked a little bit about the history of the centre, and actually there is a connection with the Fellowship of Australian Writers, Western Australia, which I mentioned before, in Swanbourne, isn't there? Because, in fact, I noticed the other day that Katharine's original writing desk is there.
That's correct.
Are you guys going to try and get that and move it back?
That's the plan. Definitely. There's a great connection there, and Katharine was a founder, actually, of part of the founders of the Parkway. So, definitely an amazing connection, and we will try and get that.
And we're so lucky too because we've got Katharine's original writer's room, so that's been restored.
Yes.
And it doesn't have a desk in it, but it's a really lovely way to see how a writer wrote, and I guess it's one of those dream writing kind of situations to have your own room overlooking a wonderful vista, and so
I always tend to take people there. That's probably the first place when they come in. I'm like, would you like to see the writing room? Because I feel like it's such a special place, and everybody who walks in just kind of says there's this energy, this inspiration, and this really supportive kind of vibe going through the place. So I think that's it's just really special.
Absolutely, as you did for Laurie and myself.
That's right,
a few weeks ago, we had a wonderful tour of KSP. I wanted to ask you next the programming. I mean, you guys run such an extensive and varied range of programming to support writers and indeed readers as well. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what you offer at KSP?
Yeah, definitely. We just have such a wide program, like you said, and it goes from workshops, writing groups, residencies, fellowships, events, competitions. We just basically really do try and support the community, and we definitely get the support back as well. So that's just an amazing thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the residencies is probably our real special, like everything's special, but that's the really unique thing that we offer. So we've got the 3 cabins that people can stay in and write, and it's no distractions, and you've just got your bed, your desk, it's got an ensuite, and so it's they get used very heavily with different levels of residents that we do, from the emerging artists to the established writers, I should say, and the fellowships that we have there too. So it's very, and the feedback we get from them is just, I guess, part of my reason for doing what I do.
Absolutely.
Because it's so inspiring, and you can see that people just having that space to focus on their writing just is so profound and can make such big headways with what they're doing. Some people kind of sit there and go, very annoying, kind of week or two, but I think a lot of people get a lot done. But even those blocks, I think, can be quite, confronting them can be quite important for your writing as well. So.
Yeah, so clearly that's a very clear benefit to writers, that's kind of residency. But outside of that, obviously you have those other activities like workshops, book launches, those kinds of things. What about just drop-ins? So people who just are listening today and think, oh, I'd love to just visit. Is that an option? Can people just like drop in and hopefully you're there and show them around?
Yeah, definitely. I'm usually always there from Monday to Friday, or try to be. Sometimes I'm not, but usually there's a notice on the door.
Although Sophia is part-time, so we do try to make her part-time, so you do need to go home.
Literally part-time, yes.
So if you do drop in and no one's there,
yes,
actually taking what's it the time actually needs.
No, I just love the centre so much, and I truly do enjoy being there as well. And I always invite people to come and see the space, and they're more than welcome to come in and have a walk. I'm more than happy to show them around, and yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I mean, leading on from that, and this is for both of you, beyond your official roles, to what extent are you involved in the nitty-gritty of the everyday running of the centre and the program?
So I guess what got me involved is the writers groups, and I think that's kind of the heart of it for me, because we have quite a number of groups. And I was looking around for a writers group that focused on novel writing, but there weren't any in Perth. So I thought, maybe I'll just, start one at KSP, as you do, thinking, maybe me and a couple of friends might, get together and meet on a, monthly basis. But when we put the call out, there's about 40 to 50 people who were really keen to get involved. So it was a really huge demand, and ended up running the 2 writers groups fortnightly about. And I think now they've kind of settled down to about 12 in each group, 12 to 13, which is a nice number.
Exactly, very manageable.
Unwieldy, so
yes, I can imagine.
A frantic period there, but it's it's just really exciting. So seeing how people are working on their novels and sharing tips and critiquing and support and accountability. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually exactly how I arrived at KSB.
Oh, yes.
That was I joined.
You were part of one of those groups?
Yeah, no,
wow.
Collective. That was the group that Kate started. In that time, I met Georgia, my podcast co-host as well.
Yes.
And it's just been an absolutely amazing journey. And I've gone from 0 to 100 with my own writing, and I've just really thoroughly enjoyed it. But that was the first time I ever saw KSB when we had our first group meeting. And I just absolutely fell in love, as you can tell. And I just stayed.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Yeah. Very lucky that she was so enthusiastic.
So clearly you see these kinds of writing centres as being vital to the health of the writing sector and the writing ecology, if you want to call it that. What do you feel are your most valuable contributions? I mean, I guess you've already mentioned the kinds of activities you do, which clearly are valuable. But just overall, how do you think writer centres do contribute to the health of our writing sector?
I just think I get emails almost daily where people ask for direction, they ask for help. What should I do? Where should I start? Who should I see?
They need that guidance.
They need that guidance, that's right. And I think that's what the centres really provide, that support and guidance, and we kind of give them different opportunities and options to explore their own craft. through workshops, through masterclasses, through work groups, whatever it may be, whatever works for them. And I think that's really important to have.
And then it's also the meeting people and, you know, people like-minded.
Well, that sense of community, I guess, fostering that.
Yeah, just meeting other writers, and also being able to talk about your writing, because most friends aren't quite up for the long chat of in-depth writing conversations.
And it can be a solitary pursuit, and so it should be, you know, when you're really sort of in the moment of creating your work, but it's nice to have that community, that sense of community, that you're not alone, you're not struggling alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so important. And it's just lovely too, like a lot of writers who've been through the centre are still referencing KSP and
acknowledging
about KSP,
the support received,
recently, about KSP. So it's obviously makes an impact.
I think my colleague Laurie, who's sitting silently in the background, is probably one of those writers who I know has acknowledged to me how important KSP has been to him over the years. Yeah. I wanted to ask, just on the other side of the coin, what have been some of the challenges for you, and what are some of the challenges going forward for KSP?
Well, funding's always a biggie.
Yes, know all about that.
We're so grateful to the Sharon Daring. They do supply kind of ongoing funding for Sophia, and just having that paid staff person really helps to keep the centre running and some stability there. But with the state, federal, getting money is a hard one, and not wanting to commercialise what we do and kind of keeping what we do affordable. So that's a really big key as well, because you look at, I guess, the Australian Writers Centre, which is charging a lot more for programs and things, but we aren't ready to charge those sorts of prices because we want it to be accessible for everyone. So,
well, I suppose they're more of a commercial operation,
well, exactly.
And I guess our organisation is in the same way. We're a not-for-profit. We're looking to provide a service as accessibly as we can, but by the same token, we need money to survive. It's the same situation, isn't it?
Yes. So it's a bit heartening seeing the changes in some of the state and federal funding, but still, I guess it's like we don't receive any. Well, at the moment, nothing. So,
Yeah, I think speaking to the other centres as well, it's really admirable because, you know, all the volunteering that people do and all of the devotion and passion they show without having any sort of monetary support or very little is just incredible. And I always kind of say, you know, hats off, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of time.
Absolutely.
So, it
is amazing what volunteers do. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that being said, what would you do if you had basically a much bigger budget, a lot more money? What's your sort of dream scenario in terms of programming and the kinds of things you want to run?
I think I would certainly want to expand it. I would want to do even more if possible.
Yes.
I would like to do more residencies, more workshops, masterclasses. It would be wonderful if we could provide, you know, further opportunities, and especially for emerging authors and people who are just starting off, because it can be really daunting and almost, you know, kind of frightening to begin the journey if you're not really, you know, you're not already an established author.
Absolutely.
So that would be amazing. But
Yeah. And I think the residencies, it would just be amazing if we could get 2 more cabins and one fully accessible one, because at the moment they're not that accessible. So,
which we're hoping to change as soon as possible, because we would really like to make the centre accessible. We would like to open it up and definitely have 2 more cabins if possible, because that would be incredible.
And it's just the synergy too of the writers in residence that... Because at the moment we've got the 3 cabins, but if we had more people, it's just that more connections and the synergies are just increased. So that would be amazing, but that's a big project. So if there's lots of funding.
And clearly centres like yours are obviously mostly concerned with Western Australian writers and so forth, but is there any sort of appetite to attract, you know, Eastern states, whether it's residencies or online offerings, I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. And we have had international and Eastern state writers staying in the cabins. So we're definitely open to that.
Because presumably then local authors would benefit from that anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yes. Especially if you've got that option to have dinner together. And so we've got this beautiful balcony at KSP that is often, you go there in summer and there's a couple of people drinking a nice red wine, all the residents there chatting and sharing cheese. It's just a lovely, it's a really nice. And if we could have more of that, that would be, and it's those informal opportunities to chat and meet, and it's so important. So
yeah, that's probably my favorite part of my job, to meet these people, speak to them, and these amazing experiences and connections I see forming at the centre between the residents, between the writers, and just in general is so fulfilling and so amazing that I don't know, I would love to have more of that, honestly.
Yeah, it is pretty heartening. I know when I started on the board, Elizabeth Lewis, the previous chair, would be speaking very similar to what Sophia's saying. Going, that sounds very, very over the top. But when you start to talk to people and get the reports back and start to actually see what's happening, it's like, oh wow, it's really, really significant and very beautiful. The connections that do happen. So.
And I like too the way that you have all kinds of appeals to people right from, emerging beginners writers right through to presumably a lot of people who do residencies are already established authors, maybe working on their next book, I don't know, and the opportunity for all of them to engage with each other. But I'm wondering what has been the most popular, genre or type of activity that you guys have engaged in recently? I mean, what's sort of rising to the fore for you?
I think probably our workshops and writing groups.
Yes.
In terms of the residencies and fellowships, I think a lot of people would like to have mentorships included, which I think would actually be a great idea, and that's another thing that I would add to the
Yeah, absolutely. Mentorships, yes.
Because I think that would really be very, very beneficial.
And is that primarily in fiction, or if it is it long fiction, short fiction, or is it non-fiction or poetry? I'm just curious about
long fiction.
Okay.
I would say long fiction and genre. We do get a lot of people writing genre fiction.
Genre fiction, like speculative and that kind of thing.
Speculative and all kinds of just genre fiction.
Yeah, sure,
and
wow.
Our anthology spooky stories.
That's
so we have a very popular competition with horror, with RPG horror. But it's that's getting more and more people entering that, and that's
right.
Very.
I think I love the diversity of the program we offer, and even in our groups or competitions or anything else we do really try and make it as diverse as possible. It is a place for all. It is welcoming, and definitely, we want to expand that further if possible.
And what about, I understand too, it's a part museum as well. You go there, as you say, there are all these wonderful objects on display, the rooms that you can explore. How do you balance the need to acknowledge tradition and history with embracing, the future?
I think it merges quite well, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's because Katharine Susannah Prichard was a very sort of flamboyant persona.
Yeah, and probably forward-thinking in a lot of her ways as well.
Forward-thinking in her ways, that's right. And I think it merges quite well. The house is kind of preserved, and it has a lot of artifacts, which would be heritage and a lot of things on display that are historically important.
Yes.
But at the same time, we do have a lot of modern kind of things in the house as well, and it sort of all goes together really well.
Yeah, I do wonder, though, because I know she was very politically active, and our centre is very not. Just whether that... Like when we were thinking about Katharine's legacy and who she is and what she brought to the community, I do feel there's a bit of scope for us to maybe bring some of that in, but then I don't think the writers that love the centre and use the centre, it is a very genre-heavy based centre, so... There is that for me, a little bit of tension there. So, yeah. Yeah,
because just to get back to that title, The Red Witch of Nathan's biography, that refers to her being a communist, doesn't it? In those days, I guess, communism was probably something slightly different to what it is now.
Yes.
But, and as you say, that legacy is I guess it's kind of, you can't ignore it, but you don't want it to define what you guys do now, do you, at all?
Yeah, that's a bit of a,
As you say, there's that tension there.
Yeah, but also just you do so much work with unemployed people, with women's rights.
Which is wonderful, and that's something you do want to embrace.
Sort of, yes.
So
that's, as you say, it was very different communism back then than it is now. So it was more about, supporting supporting people and equal rights, and especially for unemployed.
Yeah, and so that spirit actually of that kind of communism is very much still a part of what KSB is interested in doing.
I think that's what we bring to the forefront.
Yes.
So if we can continue doing that.
Making it accessible and
So in that regard, I mean, do you either do you offer now, or are there plans to offer, I don't know, almost scholarships, like a situation where you recognise that some people don't have the means to afford a residency or even a workshop? And is there some way you can help those people who are less privileged, I guess?
Absolutely. So with some of the residencies, they are funded.
Yes.
So people receive fees for that.
Fantastic.
And then the fellowships are also heavily subsidised.
That's lovely. Yes.
Yeah, we keep it as accessible as possible. We do also have a CALD scholarship, which we offer every year. Important. Yeah, but it would be lovely to have even more. I think it would be, for me, at least my dream is to someday have a full kind of scope of things that we offer within the residency or fellowship, and perhaps even connect the writers who are established and then emerging or upcoming, and just have those connections form as part of the program itself if they wish to participate. So that is something that I would really love to see in the coming years, but we'll see how we go.
No, of course, fantastic.
We're very excited too about working with Writing WA. So
I'm glad you're excited.
And to see how, I guess that's, because I still feel I'm relatively new in the chair position, but seeing how the Western Australian writing scene kind of comes together and supports each other. And I know we've been with such a supportive sector for us, which is really great. So
and there is that kind of umbrella organisation. I think it's what, Writers United or something like that. That kind of exists, but I don't know that much. It's not very active. It's just like if you're a joint member, you get those benefits. But it'd be nice to see that expanded so that we all work together and support each other more fully.
Yeah, absolutely.
While still retaining our individual, autonomy, but also our idiosyncrasies, which is just vital.
In wonderful ways.
Yeah, which would just be amazing. I wanted to ask you both too, during your involvement with the centre, what have been some of the chief insights that you've gained in terms of what writing means to people, to the community? Because you would have met so many writers, so many readers, so many people who love writing. You must have learnt so much already,
Yeah, I think writing and just expressing yourself in that kind of format can be life-changing.
Yes.
I've seen it people, and just the way people can light up and how it can really change their perspective on things, and how they can... I think there was this kind of almost a stigma around writing where people were kind of not sure if that's a profession that you should be pursuing because there's no funding, because this and that. But then they see the community, they see the centre, they see us all doing these wild and wonderful things, and they kind of get that hope back. And I think we've, reached the point where a lot of young people and all kinds of people are just interested in writing, and they want to pursue that, which I think is absolutely magical.
Yeah, and I think that's really important too, is kind of letting people know that they can be a writer, shifting from I'm somebody who writes to I'm a writer. So it really helps to give that. And I was just thinking too about our wonderful gardener who came to the centre as a volunteer gardener, and now she's a poet, and just how that's,
So that is transformative in that regard. Yes.
Yeah, the joy she gets from that and the shift in thinking and things. So it's it's really wonderful.
Absolutely. I mean, so why do you think writing is so important and so vital to our community and our society beyond writing?
Yeah, so storytelling. But also the getting inside other people's heads as well. It's something you don't really get a chance to do that often. So it's that real different perspectives. For me, that's what I love about writing.
I think writing can really be healing, and it can also be a challenge. It can be something to challenge yourself on, to explore, experiment with. Writing in itself is experimental. And so I just think it's such a wonderful way to express yourself. And I've actually recently had a young person, 18-year-old, come into the centre, and he was like, can you please just tell me what to do? My parents are saying I shouldn't be writing. And I don't know, when we spoke about this and when I kind of told him, there's this awesome community, there's all these things that you can do, and there's all these different ways. You don't have to do this or this, you can choose something else and still be a part of it. It was that kind of I don't know, recognition, like a light bulb just turned on, and it was the most amazing moment. So I think that's what writing is.
That's real magic,
what
isn't
it can do.
Yeah, it's got so much creativity and
yeah.
And I think just the empathy that it fosters in the community as well.
Yeah.
Like for me, it is about understanding those different perspectives and getting such deeper insight and and I do love it when I read a good book and that the narrator's voice kind of stays with me for quite a few weeks afterwards. And it's just very fun.
and I think too, and it's often not acknowledged, as a technology, writing is something that develops your imagination more than the visual arts, more than film, because you're given so much in those mediums. But in writing, you have to do the work yourself. So it's fully interactive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just sort of boring sort of words on a page stuff. It's fully immersive, isn't it? And I really love that. That's my personal, appeal, I think.
Yeah. And also the pace of it, you can... when you're really excited,
you choose. You can speed up, slow down. Exactly. It's wonderful, isn't it?
It is, I think even for me personally, because I didn't pursue writing for a very long time. I used to write when I was younger and then I stopped. And then I joined the centre and joined the group, and I started talking to people and just being in that environment. And I can see the difference in my own writing and in the way I read and understand and and it's just been, honestly, it has been life-changing. So
you're a perfect example of what this experience can do for people.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So look, maybe as a last question, I would love to know from both of you, what are you reading now? Who are your favourite authors? Just, it's always fascinating because everyone's so different. Put you on the spot, haven't I?
I think it's modern.
That's all right. While you're thinking.
I've been reading, actually, David Allen Patali's novel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing. I was really blown away.
I'm glad you're reading a West Australian author for starters.
And also Rebecca Higgie's novel. I've just been finishing the last few chapters.
Another great WA author.
Another great WA author. And I've just been blown away with the talent and just the way things are written. They're very different books, obviously, but just wanted to mention, amazing. And I'm hoping to read, I'm now at my 25th book of the year, which is was my challenge for myself. And I'm hoping maybe to even reach 30. So, we'll see.
Fantastic. Kate?
Oh, I'm totally...
You're caught up in listening to us, aren't you? But you obviously would be someone who reads a lot.
Yes. Although I have slowed down a little in the last year. I've been studying and it seems to be taking my whole brain capacity. So, but yes.
I think that's important to acknowledge, though, people who have either got a busy job or they have to study. Reading is even more important then, isn't it? To take time out. To immerse yourself in another world.
Yes, and stop just reading research.
Forget about everything else. Because you do come back refreshed, don't you? So from that perspective, it's useful, if you want to use that word.
Yes,
It has utility beyond the imaginative development of one's psyche, I guess.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just regenerating.
Regenerating, So don't forget to read.
Yes.
Audiobooks.
That's it, yes.
For me, because I do drive, I live quite far away from the centre, so I drive for 45 to an hour every single day there and back. So I've used that time to just listen to books, and I've gotten used to that kind of medium of... So
audiobooks, podcasts, those kinds of ways of...
Podcasts, audiobooks, any kind of just... fulfilling thing to read or listen to. It's been awesome. Yeah. And this was something I discovered this year, at the beginning of this year. And so it's been amazing to be able to listen to all these things and not have to just sit. And so, there's different ways.
Fantastic. Well, Sophia, Kate, it's been a pleasure having you on Pod Street. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our visit. Good luck with the centre. Can I ask you, just for people who are listening who don't know much about KSB, what's the best way of finding out more? Presumably there's a wonderful website somewhere out there. And the address is?
KSBWriterCentre.com.
Too easy. Okay, guys. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.